Thanks for joining us for another episode of Mid-American Gardener. I'm your host, Tanisha Spain, and joining me in the studio today are two hungry panelists who are, well, one hungry panelist who is enjoying a snack that Chuck brought in today, and we're going to talk about these later.
It's really good, too.
Chuck, we'll have you, while Marty's chewing, we'll have you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about you.
It's not a big strain, really.
I am Chuck Voigt, and I retired from the horticulture department, which had been renamed a couple of times, at the University of Illinois.
Due to you.
It's been over 7 years since I did that, which is kind of unbelievable. I was a vegetable and herb specialist, was involved in forming the Illinois Herb Association back in 1989, and it's still going, so hopefully that's a good thing.
And now you grow stuff.
I do. I grow stuff, and I grown.
And he knows stuff, too.
Knows stuff,
he knows stuff.
Grown and growing. Okay, Marty?
He made rhubarb crisp, little cake. Oh, God, it's delicious.
Which she was supposed to wait. We were all going to eat it together, but she jumped the gun,
camera.
Whips her pocket knife out, and scoops up a piece right on set. So anyway,
cut you a little, okay, all right.
Tell us about you.
I'm Marty Alanya. I used to work for the U of I as well, but then I left there, started my own gig, mostly small landscaping. I've mostly retired. I'm doing a few little things for friends that I promised things to before I officially retired, but I just can't seem to get away.
Can't seem to get fully out.
However, yes.
The Michael Corleone of landscaping.
Keep dragging me back in.
And they brought so much stuff to show today, so I'm excited. We have to get started because we're going to run out of time.
Yeah.
So, all right, who wants to go first?
I do.
Okay.
Last time I was on.
Be quicker.
Last time I was on, you asked me about asparagus seeds.
Yes.
And I wanted to clear that up because my quick answer was yes, you can grow asparagus from them. The longer answer is because they're hybrid varieties, the ones that are going to grow from those seeds won't necessarily be totally like the parents. They'll be asparagus, but they won't necessarily have the qualities of what you're taking the seeds from.
Okay.
And I wanted to clear that up because as soon as I got out the door, it
yourself?
dawned on me that, well, yes, you can, but maybe, yeah. So
got it. Okay.
So that's that. So I thought I would do a quick roundup of some things. Last time I was on, I had the Sweet Williams.
Yes.
And
Beautiful.
they bloomed for about 6 weeks, and then the drought finally slowed them down. So I picked the seed heads. Each one of those flowers has a little capsule that opens up, and the seeds, when it blows around, they spread them around. I had a bunch, so I've got enough to share here. There's probably hundreds in there, which you could populate an acre with what's in there, but share them with somebody or whatever. The way I would do it is I would sow them right away.
Okay.
And I try to, if you get 2 or 3 per cell in a cell pack, that's okay. They'll just thicken up faster. Do that now, get them going. Transplant them as soon as they're big enough to come out of the cell pack and keep them well watered into the fall. And they should give you a little bit, they still should give you a little bloom next year.
Okay.
And then even though they're called a biennial, there's sort of a short-lived perennial that reseeds itself. And so the first year that you'll come up and you get however many there were there last year. And this year they spread out, and there may be 20 of them there. And so next year you'll get 20 flowers from that cluster. So whatever you do, get them started right away, or you could wait and start them next spring, but then they won't bloom until the year after next. So,
now, do you have to start them in cell packs? What if I want to just put them directly in a bed or in the ground? Is that okay, or do you prefer?
The nice thing about a cell pack this time of the year is they're not out, and they don't have to be out in the blazing sun. And
you can control the environment a little bit more.
And if you're sowing, if you have this many seeds and you're sowing them, you would have a tendency probably to sow too many.
Gotcha.
And it breaks your heart to try to thin them as they should be.
Yes.
So that's there. Last year we did spider flower cleome, and we had a picture of it, but I thought I would bring the actual thing in. You can see it blooms at the top, and you start getting seeds.
Hence the name,
in there.
Yeah.
And
zillions and zillions.
And the bush balsam, which obviously is a little doesn't like to be picked, but that's that. And then
surprise.
Yes, the surprise, the miracle lilies. That Tanisha says the ones I gave her haven't yet bloomed, but we're still hopeful that is going to happen.
I'm waiting. Like I said, I got the foliage in the spring, so I knew everybody survived. But now
that's the key thing.
We're just waiting.
Yeah,
so.
yeah. My nephew in Boulder, Colorado, I sent some to, and he planted them that summer and had a few blooms the following spring. But then the year after that, they came up, and they had like a foot of snow after they were about yay high. And they haven't been the same since out there, but I don't think you're going to have that problem over toward Danville. So.
All right. Well, I'll just keep waiting. All right, Marty, you're up.
Okay.
Here, I'll move this because
Thank you.
You've got some big ones.
I'm going to pull my stuff over here.
we want the cake to have center stage.
Yeah, I do. Here, just put that right out, and you can see it. It's really good. Okay, I have brought a hardy hibiscus. These things have come into vogue in the last few years, and I'll tell you what, they're worth. You get plenty of bang for your buck on these things. Okay, this one is. Can I get a close shot of this, maybe? There we go. There's a whole summerific series of these. These are hardy hibiscus, and this one is evening rose. So the flowers come in white, pink, or red, or some combination thereof. And the foliage is either green with a purplish tinge, or there's one variety that has a cream and green variegated leaf with a little bit of a raspberry pink around the edges and by the stems. It's called Summer Carnival. It's got variegated foliage and then red flowers, red flowers. So, but these are just, man, I didn't know, I thought, well, I'll try a couple. Oh my gosh.
This is the first year I've had hibiscus at my house, and they are just, stunners.
Yeah.
Stunners.
Yes.
Yep.
I put 4 in a client's yard a couple of years ago, and those things are insane. They're it's 4.5 feet tall, maybe 5.
Yes, and just the detail in the blooms and how intricate the flowers are. They are so gorgeous.
They're tremendously bigger than I thought they were going to get.
Yes.
I thought 4 feet. Okay, that's fine. No, they just went crazy. So because of that,
can you reach it?
Teamwork,
Teamwork.
Makes the dream work. Okay. So this little fart here is going to get to be 4 or 5 feet tall when it grows up. Except, what? It's a colloquialism. But this is a newer hydrangea. It's a panicle hydrangea, as you can see from the cone-shaped flowers. And like panicle hydrangeas do, they open white or cream, and then they slowly fade to a dusty rose, and then they'll get redder, usually in the fall, and they'll persist on the plant. They'll eventually turn just tan, but they are pretty, even for winter interest. 2 to 3 feet tall and wide. It's a truly miniature panicle. So, you're not going to get them much smaller than that. But with these are going to be planted together in the same small place, a small garden, and then.
Well, don't do them all at once.
I won't. But then the foliage will show it against each other, because garden is all about contrast.
Yes.
When you go to somebody's house, it's like, oh, nothing's blooming, it looks really pitiful. It's all green and nothing else. You don't have to have all green, people. You don't.
You've got options.
Yeah.
Foliage comes in all kinds of colors and different kinds of shapes and different kinds of textures, and that's what I'm shooting for with this. So we want as much visual interest as we can get. So there's purple foliage and green foliage, and the flowers will be similar, but like I said, that was deliberate because they're in a small space.
Very nice. Okay.
I drove past one of those on the way out of town up north today. I think it was probably one of the old disco bells.
Oh yeah.
Red flowers about yay big.
Yeah.
And just full of them.
Yes.
Just wonderful. Heat and drought. Nothing seems to.
No, they don't care.
All right.
All right, we're back to you, Chuck.
All right, let's start the vegetable review here.
Vegetable review.
Well, these are yellow zucchini, not yellow squash, like the straight necks and the crook necks.
Right.
These are actually zucchini, and if you eat both, there's a textural difference. But this is my Phil Nixon Memorial Zucchini bed. because several years ago now.
Phil's still with us.
Yeah, yeah, it's a premature memorial as far as I know. But he reminded me that vine borers stop flying in July.
Oh, nice.
And so, unless I'm just dying for a zucchini earlier, I wait until like late June, and then by the time they're up and growing, they don't get that nasty little thing boring in and cutting them off at the ground level and pop. About the time they start doing well, they're gone.
Yes, sir.
Obviously, this is like a day after the flower closes. This is 2 days, and that's probably 3 or 4 because I'm not up there constantly.
The other one's in the truck. It wouldn't fit in the studio.
Yeah, the forklift wouldn't fit through the door.
It wouldn't.
But anyway, this is about as large as you can use them, as a vegetable.
For frying,
Yeah, and much bigger than that, then you have to start doing zucchini breads and
Did you make
stuffing.
this with yellow zucchini?
No.
Oh, okay. Because I noticed there weren't a lot of green flecks in it.
Oh, there is
it
no.
does.
It's rhubarb. It's not zucchini.
Oh, that's right. It's rhubarb. It's not zucchini. That's right. Sorry, I forgot.
And it wasn't the red petioled rhubarb. It was just the one from my friend Florence.
Okay.
That's another rhubarb story. The drought, everything. Well, early, the kit foxes were out playing and swamped it down and kind of crunched it.
They're so cute.
And then the
They're
drought,
so
in May and June up there, we had maybe 1 inch on the installment plan. 3,500ths was the big rain in that 2-month period. And so the rhubarb was about to shut down for the season. And then finally we got 1.5 inches all at once. And since then, the rhubarb is about this tall. It had just said, well,
Activate.
we kind of missed the spot. So I pulled that up, and the stalks are literally almost 2 feet.
Oh my God.
And so she cut up 1 or 2 and had the 1.5 cups that she needed for this recipe.
Oh, man.
And then there's a whole bunch that's waiting in the refrigerator.
That's really good.
But this is my favorite. It's one called butter, B-U-T-T-A.
Butter.
Butter.
Like that.
Like
And
butter.
It's like butter, yeah. And
It's pretty too.
It's crazy because 2 years ago when you were up there, I had this one and a dark green one. And I got 3, 4, sometimes 5 from this for every one I got out of the green one.
Interesting.
Yeah, it has a tendency. I have only 2 plants, but they've already split into about 3 growing points.
Oh.
And so each growing point has the potential for
Wow.
for making one of these every day or 2.
More than.
That's
Yeah.
the old saying
And
about
so
zucchini stands
butter,
true.
Butter is really good. Also in the drought, I think my Big Bertha was a little constrained, so it's only got two lobes, two locules. But they are nice and big, and in general, the elongated peppers tend to set up a lot more fruit than the blocky bells.
Interesting. I didn't know
like
that.
this.
Yeah.
That's been a problem, and I don't know that it's been totally cured. And if you see a bell pepper, the ones that have predominantly 3 do better than the ones that have predominantly 4. But everybody loves the 4 because they sit nice and square in the when you fill them. What else? This is my favorite cucumber, Dasher 2. It's a gynoecious that only makes girl flowers, so you have to plant somebody with boy flowers. I just the ones
But
that
it's pickler. Yeah.
well, it's a slicer, but we make chunk pickles out of it, and this is the perfect size for the concrete pickles that we make.
You know, I'm not really a cucumber person, but I got an English cucumber with a sandwich last week, and it was really good.
Yeah, they are.
So yeah, I mean, the flavor was completely different. Texture was different.
Yeah, they're more like the burpless ones, which
Yeah, they're a little sweeter, smaller seeds.
way lower bitterness.
Yes, yes, I was impressed.
And a more tender skin, so that you don't really have to peel them.
I was very impressed by that.
Yeah, they are.
So what
good.
else? Bright lights,
Yeah.
Swiss chard.
Aren't they gorgeous?
When that came out,
They are so
when
pretty.
that came out, I was a vegetable specialist at the U of I, and I had ornamentals people coming up to me who had no intention of ever eating Swiss chard, asking me about this. And it's great. You get the red ones, you get the orangish ones, you get the yellow ones, you get the traditional white
So
ones.
pretty.
And
Peachy, they're gorgeous in the
there
garden. I mean,
again,
they're
it kind of
beautiful.
languished during the drought because I transplanted those early this season, but with a little moisture now, they're
Dried
doing
up.
fine. I mean,
how do you prepare those?
well, you can do it lots of ways. One of my favorites was I had a meeting once, and I had chefs up from Effingham, and they took the leaf blade part and layered it into a lasagna-like thing.
Oh,
So, you know, like you use spinach to do
Yeah,
that, you can
yeah.
use this.
It's a perfect replacement for spinach.
Right.
It doesn't bolt as quickly.
Right. If you're
It's got
gonna,
a similar flavor to it.
yeah, if you're gonna cook them, you want to do this part separate from
Yeah.
from this part because they cook at different rates. Because this is pretty tough, but
Yeah.
they're basically overgrown beet greens.
Yeah.
Because it's the same genus and species as beets.
I didn't know that.
It's just been selected to grow leaves and
Interesting.
not make a nice fat root.
boy, this show is full of facts. Like,
It
I hope you're
is.
taking notes, because this one, Chuck and Martie
I
has rattled
didn't.
off all the facts
I
in this
did
show.
not know that.
Yeah, and I've got my gill feather turnips and rutabagas are up
Okay.
because they didn't come up well last year in the drought.
What about the broom corn? Are you growing
I'm
broom
growing the
corn?
black this year.
Okay.
And I sadly I just got the seed stripped off yesterday from the red from last year from my select seed, but I've got them.
Hey, better late than never.
I've got to get them into a couple of gallon jugs, but
They were really pretty on my porch.
good.
Yep.
Oh, yeah, that's right. You took them home. I forgot
I did.
about that.
She's going to put them
That's
in
what I love
in
about
her
it.
planter.
I did. And I stuffed those in with some dry sedum heads and some juniper and
Yeah.
some
Made something
blue.
lovely.
Yeah, yeah. And I-
Well, anyways, last year since they didn't come up especially well, the turnips, and I had plenty of seed, so I sowed them pretty thickly. Well, naturally, this year it rained on them, and I've already thinned them once, and I'm going to have to thin them again if I want them to get any size to them. But it's a wonderful little row of seedlings that are looking very.
Nice.
Yeah, I need to get the BT fired up, or the little white butterflies are going to send their offspring to eat them. But other than that, they're often doing well.
Good.
And after a terrible start to the gardening season, we're doing well.
Okay. All right. You've got one more flower.
I do.
You do.
And then we'll do some questions, or are we about out of time?
We'll
or
see.
what? This, boys and girls, is one of my favorite plants. This is a cherry brandy. See those fabulous
So pretty.
flowers, just
It
amazing
just screams fall,
tones. It does.
which I'm
And
not ready for, but
they're,
okay.
They're a little redder earlier on. See, here's one that's just burgundy, really, almost black, because the centers are dark too. And this is a lovely little variety of Rudbeckia hirta. Hirta is the species. Rudbeckia, like black-eyed Susans, like you're all very familiar with. These are the hirta variety. They have a little bit bigger stature. They have a larger leaf. They have a much more hirsute leaf. They're a little fuzzy there. Problem with this is it won't grow in my life. I love these things. I bet I planted 7 of them. They just don't seem to overwinter for me. And I think the problem is because I don't get around to planting it till it's too late in the year. But man, are they beautiful. Now, there are varieties of these that are more yellow or golden. They have a green eye sometimes. Sometimes they have a brown eye. Sometimes they have an orange eye. The common name is Denver daisy for Rudbeckia hirta. This particular variety does not get as big as Denver daisies, which I have seen soar to heights of 3, 4, 5 feet. They're ridiculous. And they can be, like those, they can be tender. They can maybe overwinter, but they'll reseed themselves freely if Martie gets it planted in the ground
If
in
Martie
time
gets it in the ground.
for it
in
to
time.
make some seeds and drop them.
Are they related to the Gloriosa daisy? Or is that just the?
I don't think so. This
Okay,
is
because those are not especially hardy.
no. Are they Rudbeckia genus? Because I don't think they are.
I don't know what they are.
I think it's another thing.
But I thought there was a green-eyed one. Is what made me think of them.
Yeah, there's a ton of daisy type flowers. There's Heliopsis and
Yes.
So yeah.
That reminds me of
see,
the
this is-
sunsets with the Canadian smoke.
Aren't they nice? Yeah. They were pretty cool.
What
They were
summer
pretty
it's
cool.
been.
That is
What a summer it has been.
It has been quite
Drought,
growing
derecho,
season. Yeah.
to Canadian smoke. I mean,
Nutty.
we've seen it all.
Yeah.
You're not kidding. We've
summer.
had a lot of
I'm
stuff
sorry you
going
got
on,
to
but-
got to experience the derecho down here
Oh,
that we had 2
man.
years ago up north.
That was quite an
Ours
experience.
was worse, but that
Yeah.
never mind.
It
That
something.
was an interesting 5 days, let me tell you.
So anyway, I'm going to try to get this in the ground at least by the end of August. Let us pray all together.
That it happens.
Yes, that it happens. Because they are just fantastic.
That's gorgeous.
Like I said, sometimes they won't come up from the previous parent crown, but they might seed themselves. They might have another little offshoot there. And usually the other ones, the yellower and orange varieties, once they're established, they go insane.
Now,
They seed themselves around and you're pulling them like weeds because you're just sick of them overwhelming everything else.
question. Will the ones that reseed, will they look exactly like this or will they revert?
They typically look like this.
Okay,
And,
'cause
and
I-
that's odd because he was just talking about the asparagus and how you don't, but
Interesting.
Yeah, well, if it's
Yeah.
stable, it's stable. That's
yeah,
great.
a lot of times a hybrid will, like Chuck was saying, a lot of times a hybrid of something will revert to one parent or the other, and it's not at all what you were hoping for.
Yeah.
Not even close.
Yes, yes.
Perhaps a selection works differently than a hybrid. That
All right,
way.
we've got
Maybe.
about 5 minutes left. So now let's talk about the goodies that are in this bowl. And I'm going to tip it so we can get a. So I thought it was coffee
really,
cake.
really
I mean, it
good.
is kind of a coffee
It kind
cake.
of is, yeah.
But this is, tell us a little bit about it. This is from Donna.
It's a coffee cake, a crumb cake. Because I sort of kind of promised you that I would bring some baked goods with rhubarb in them.
The obligatory rhubarb baked
I
goods.
conned her into doing this. She got in her
It's like zucchini.
into her favorite cookbook.
So
and,
much of it.
and came up with this. She's got a like a
lovely.
rhubarb crisp thing that she wants to do now too.
It's got
Oh
that
my
little zing.
gosh.
Yeah, oh yeah. Yeah,
So
yeah.
you can taste the sugar, like the little crunchy.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
So
like
good.
It's got that
it's like a
little-
rhubarb
that
crumb
little
cake kind of a
lemony-
I
thing.
wish I could share
Zing.
this with you guys.
I'm
It's
glad we
delicious.
don't. There's more for us.
Okay, sorry.
I'm-
Now let's do a question.
I'm glad the camera people are showing some restraint and not
Yes.
Don't.
Zooming in.
not rushing the
Sorry.
table.
Let's see. Okay, so we're in August. So Eric Pope wants to know. He says he never got around to planting peas in the spring. Can you still plant peas? And when can he do that?
Heck yeah, Eric. I haven't planted any either, but fall crops are awesome. Just great. And I don't even know why I'm answering this because Chuck's the veggie guy. But yeah, absolutely. And as the weather, I'm going to do them as soon as I can get around to it.
Right
which
after
maybe,
you plant
like
that.
November. Yeah, because that's how I roll. But yeah, sure you can. And as the weather is starting to cool down a little bit, the peas and the other spring crops will love you for it.
Do you do a fall pea planting?
I've never had tremendous success with fall peas,
Well, I
actual
have.
actual
What about
shell
that,
peas.
eh?
Well, good for you. And I kind of answered that once before, and my answer was if you can get them started early enough. I would have recommended July for a fall crop as opposed to August, but. And I know we're supposed to be non-specific about what day we're taping this, but my opinion would be that we're getting a little late. Maybe for some of the pea pod kinds of things,
Okay.
either the snap or the pea pod things.
snow peas,
to
yeah.
actually grow them for shelling peas. I'm not sure the day length and everything is going to cooperate. The temperatures and the moisture probably yes.
I'm not
But
saying you might not.
she's had some success. I've had
Okay.
limited success.
So
in the
take
fall.
that information and do with it
You're
what
welcome.
you will.
You're welcome.
Eric.
Yeah, I'm not saying you may not have to cover them a little bit now and then with a sheet or something if it's going to threaten frost. But then, a lot of times it'll threaten frost and then it'll go up to 80 for 4 or 5 days. So
And they're fairly frost resistant.
they are. They're
Yeah,
tougher than
but
you
Eric,
think.
I would recommend this fall you do some ground prep so that first thing in the spring you're ready to go, and
Get those in.
because for shelling peas they're never going to be better than If you get them in,
yeah.
like say in March, if it happens to break, that it's fit to do it in March.
Okay, we got a minute and a half. Last question. Where can someone get a buckeye tree? Ramona St. Pierre would like to know. Where can you find a buckeye tree?
Oh, brother. You can get Aesculus pavia, which is a smaller ornamental tree. If she's talking about the great big ones.
Doesn't say, but
I
just
know.
buckeye.
Yeah, well, they don't transplant especially well. I have done it, but the way I get them is I go someplace where there's a horse chestnut, or if you can find an Ohio buckeye or a yellow buckeye, or
Stuff your
whatever kind of
pockets.
buckeye you want, a red buckeye.
Yeah.
Pick up a few of the nuts, plant them right away. You don't want them to dry out because that basically kills them. And then once you have it, it'll come up. It won't get too big the first year, maybe the second year. That's when I would get it dug up and transplanted, because once that taproot gets down and it's established, they're pretty difficult to move. If I was in the nursery business, I'd probably grow them in a deep container and then
Off they go.
and then send them off that way.
All right.
You
We have to
call
end it there.
around. You call
So
around your
call
local
around
nursery,
or
see if
find
they have
someone with
them.
a tree in their yard, and then fill
There
your
is a
pockets.
specialty guy up by Moni that might have them.
Okay, there you go. You got some options there.
I know where some
Thank
are
you so
growing.
much for watching. Thank you guys
I'm
so
not
much
gonna
for
tell you.
joining.
Yeah.
Thank you, Donna, for the rhubarb cake, and we will see you next time. Good night.